So tonight's guest joins us all the way from Guyana. His name is Youni Abdul, and let me get his title right. He is a personal finance and business analyst. He's been on the show before. Welcome back, Youni.
Happy to be here, Kalilah.
You get your $100,000 yet?
I'll wait in.
All right, so that's the big news this week. The
Yep.
Guyanese President Irfan Ali has announced that each Guyanese citizen over the age of 18 is going to get 100,000 Guyanese dollars cash. And I was confused because I'm like, wasn't it 200,000?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they've changed it. So tell us what's happening.
Right. So, about 8 days ago, President Ali made a surprise announcement to the nation, saying that he would distribute 200,000 Ghana dollars, which is about 1,000 US per household. So that announcement obviously sparked a lot of excitement, but immediately after, there was quite a bit of concern regarding specifically how a household would be defined. And
Mhm.
over the ensuing days, that matter percolated throughout society. It eventually reached the highest levels of government where they decided to make a change. So then, about 3 days or 2 days back, President Ali came and made a second announcement where he changed the previous announcement of 200,000 Ghana dollars per household or 1,000 US per household, and he's made it into 100,000 Ghana dollars per person. Every adult, right? So every person above the age of 18 with a valid passport or Ghana ID card is now eligible for 100,000 Ghana dollars, which is about, again, 500 US.
So
So
that
that
makes
is what
more
has taken
sense. It
place.
seems to be more equitable because some households have a lot of people, some households have few people.
Yeah.
But I imagine it's going to cost the government a lot more.
Right. So the official number they gave for the 200,000 per household was 60 billion Ghana dollars, right? But what they're saying now is that because it's individual at 100,000 is going to be substantially more. They haven't placed a figure, right? Officially, but obviously it sounds like it's going to end up being quite a lot of money extra than they previously allocated.
So, how has this been received in Guyana? I know how we received it when we were in Jamaica. We're like, must be nice. Wish it was us.
Well,
Because
yeah.
in context, the Jamaican government is giving back 20,000 Jamaican dollars per taxpayer, a
Right.
compliant taxpayer, which is a lot less than 100,000 Guyanese dollars.
Is it a cash distribution or a tax
It's supposed to be a
deduction?
cash distribution, yes.
Oh, nothing off the taxes since they're already tax
So it's
compliant.
gonna be
Okay,
like it's like 150 US
they're
dollars.
about right. Well, okay. Well, with regards to how the atmosphere is since that second announcement with the 100,000 per person, obviously quite positive. Everybody's excited. Social media is lit with jokes about what people are going to do with the money. Um, so I think people are a little more relieved with regards to that whole thing with the household. A lot of those concerns are now gone. All right. However, things a little issues are starting to creep up, right? Like for example, there's the issue of if people from overseas, Guyanese overseas, will be eligible. So maybe they may or may not do something to prove residency. Although I don't believe that's going to happen because that's going to add a lot of complexity to the distribution process. All
Hmm.
right, and also as you know, Guyana has had a surge of migrants into Guyana from Venezuela, sorry, 50,000 plus over the last couple of years due to the Venezuelan crisis. Some may have naturalized and have gotten IDs. So there's a little sprinkle of debate on that. I mean, but obviously sticking to the letter of the law, if you have a Guyanese ID card, you're in, and you're
Hmm.
above the age of 18. The one final thing is that some of the children to adults in transition are a bit mad. Those who are becoming 18 years old within this calendar year, they won't be eligible because this cutoff date is 1st of January 2024. So
Mm.
those who are becoming 18 throughout this year won't be eligible, and they're a little angry as well. But overall, those are just sprinkles of issues, 1%, 2%. The 98% of the sentiment is mostly positive.
So when will the money be paid out?
They've started the distribution immediately. I don't think it's money being handed out immediately. I think the planning phase has commenced. So I think that's where they're at. It's only been 2 days. Hopefully, within the next 3 to 4 days, we can get a little update on that. But they
So how
seem
are
to
they distributing then?
right. Um, Again, there's very little information, right? But it could be house to house because a lot of people are unbanked, to be honest, right?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. We have the same problem here.
Yeah, a lot of people are unbanked. Some, I don't know if they're going to implement a mechanism for direct bank transfers. So that's one option as well, you know?
You know, every time I bring up Guyana on the program or on my other platforms, people start saying, oh, yes, they have the oil money, but it's not benefiting the people. So
Right.
is there a perception now that this is benefiting the people, or because it's a one time thing, people
Mhm.
are still thinking, oh, they're just trying to do a little something? My first thought was election probably soon come.
Oh yeah, election is next year, November 2025, right? So we're exactly about 12, 13 months away, right? So maybe that has a role to play. The government is officially saying it's a one-off, which gives the implication that next year it may not be here unless they're being purposely ambiguous, right? Um, so, but with regards to if they're feeling the benefit, I mean, definitely a cash injection direct to an individual is beneficial, right? Because it comes from the oil money, basically. Um, but whether it's something sustainable, or having a long lasting effect is left to be said. Because again, they're saying one time or one off, right? We don't know if it's going to come back next year.
Hmm.
My personal opinion, if I may, um, I'm not too in favor of a universal basic income. I don't have personally, right? I mean, I have no effect or change to make, but I generally am not leaning to such kind of policy style. But I mean, at the end of the day, and I think the economists know, right? And the thing is, I'm doing a sidetrack of a sidetrack, sorry, but the thing is, both the PNC in Guyana and the PPP have been talking about cash transfers in some way or the other. They flip flop on the issues on both sides of the aisle multiple times, but now it's happening. And the opposition party have done their little rebuttals in the media saying, when we get into power, we're going to give 400,000 per person. So it seems like
Oh, wow.
so it seems like moving forward, this may be a permanent reality or permanent economic feature. But again, who knows? We're in very embryonic stages of this. But my personal opinion, I don't really like that. I rather that money be used for subsidies or specific targeted interventions, not just a wash with money. But that's just me. I have no power to make any change.
Well, they did also announce free university education for all
Right.
Guyanese. So tell us about that one.
In 1992, the University of Guyana was free, but because of the economic situation post 1992, fees and so had to be instituted to make the institution economically viable, and it has been that way from 1992 onward. I think 1994 onwards, and it's around for most courses. It's around 1,000 US per semester, if I'm not mistaken. So it's quite a financial burden for those who are able to attend. But the reality is most of them get loans from the Ministry of Finance anyway, right? Obviously they have, and the thing is, the government, both administrations, both the Granger administration when they were in power and now the PPP, when people leave with university debt, they don't get pressed for it. I mean, they might
Mm.
they might send a letter here and there, but like they don't stop you at the airport or all these things. So it's a very laissez-faire situation. So the tuition thing, basic being free, basically eliminates all of that now. And even those who are burdened with debt, there's a mechanism in place for them to eliminate that moving forward now as well.
Oh, so
Yeah,
that helps. So past student loan will also be forgiven?
seems so. Yes, that's the thing there.
Wow, Jamaica is listening envious right now, I'm sure, all the people who have student loan debt.
You guys don't have aisle or something too? I heard something the other day.
There is exploration being done.
Yeah,
Nothing has been confirmed.
and this is an election year in the U.S., right? So
Yes.
I think the OPEC countries, whenever there's an election in the U.S., they try and reduce their production to take up the price of the barrel of oil. And that way, when gas prices go high in an election year in the US, the incumbent party usually suffers, right? Because, oh, gas prices are high. So the United States is happy that Guyana is able to produce a lot of oil to flood the market to keep prices down. So that's something there.
So the other thing was the minimum salary for public workers, because another complaint I had heard a lot every time I post about Guyana, the Guyanese people
Yeah.
flood my comments saying, but yet they can't pay nurses, yet they can't pay teachers. So now there is a minimum salary of, what is it, $100,000
Yes,
for
I
public
think
sector workers?
right. So I think public sector workers were, if I'm not mistaken, were at around 84,000 Guyana dollars per month. And now that's going to be revised upwards to 100,000. I think in the coming year, in the next fiscal year, is going to be set at 100,000. Of course, the private sector minimum wage is a little lower. I think it's around 64,000, so about 100 US less per month.
So your minimum wage is monthly, not weekly or hourly.
Right, monthly. That's traditionally how it's termed. Yeah, monthly. Yeah.
Ah, okay. So
Mhm.
is there a perception now, or is there growing positive sentiment towards, the oil production? Because I traditionally had been hearing a lot of negative sentiment saying Guyanese aren't benefiting. Does this announcement or this set of announcements start to change that public perception in favor of it?
Potentially. I mean, it's only been about maybe 2 weeks since all these slew of measures were announced, right? So obviously the atmosphere is a little positive. Maybe as things subside, um, that sentiment may not remain. But the thing is, and I think every time I've come on this show, we have touched on this a bit, even though it's a sparky issue, right? The politics, the political atmosphere in Guyana, right? There are people in this country that believe that we are in the best days of the nation, and then there are people in this country that believe we're in absolute darkness. So it depends on who you ask. It depends on who you ask. I like to stay out of that. I have no opinion, right? But there is something called the Yelp effect, right? Like the people who feel that things are more negative, they're usually a little more outspoken, right? Because when a
Mhm.
restaurant is good, you really don't really go and make a positive review. But when it's bad, you go and make the negative
The
review.
negative review.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's the Yelp effect. So that could be construing some of the sentiment, how you perceive it outside, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for the latest updates, Uni. Is there anything else that we missed that
No,
you
man,
want
I
to?
think you're quite thorough here with with the new updates in the last couple of weeks. You touched on the main ones, yeah?
All right. Well, keep us updated, our unofficial Guyana correspondent.
What I got to do to be official?
Well, we can make it official right now. Let me put a ring on it. Our official Guyana correspondent, Youni Abdul.
Happy. I'm happy.